I'll admit it, I'm a weirdo. I love trackballs. I have been using trackballs exclusively on desktops since 2008. And this whole time, I've pretty much just been using this, the Kensington, what is this, the Expert Mouse wireless trackball. I think they've maybe renamed it a couple times, but like literally since the dawn of time, it's looked like this. Kensington trackballs. They've added some features. They've made it a little nicer. Like this one's actually wireless, but it's pretty much stayed the same forever. And I've always wished and hoped and prayed that they would update this design, because while I love it, it's still lacking in some ways. But guess what? My prayers have been answered, and this is exactly what I was looking for. Or is it? I don't know. Maybe. Let's get into it. So this is the Expert Mouse TB800EQ trackball. This is the newest trackball from Kensington, and oh boy, does it offer an upgrade over the previous generation that I've been loved for many, many years. First, we're gonna go over the hardware. I wanna show the hardware differences if you are coming from this trackball. Next up, I wanna show the software updates and what you can do with this glorious hardware. And third, I've been using this for about a week, and I have some thoughts just in the time that I've used it so far. So let's dig into it first with the hardware. So on the left here, we have my well-loved trackball, and I intentionally did not clean it. You can see I've got some rub marks. I've got some dust building up here underneath the wrist rest. And on the right is the brand new one. Like I said, it just came out. Kensington sent this to me, but this is not paid. This is me actually reviewing it as somebody who is a longtime trackball user. So you can see some changes just in the design first up. They moved away from this kind of like matte and shiny and matte, like kind of plastic, and it always kind of felt a little plasticky, and you can kind of hear that it's like just seems a little hollow. To this more of a sleeker design. They did have a slim trackball, but I was never a big fan of that one. I never used it, so this is kind of meeting somewhere in between the OG and the slim. And so you can see that the buttons in the plate have the same texture. The top buttons up here actually have a little bit of ribbing to it, so you can feel it. But for the most part, it looks way more uniform. I like the look of it. They do offer two different ball options. I personally like the red one, but they still offer the silver one if that's more your jam. The other thing you can maybe notice is that this is just a matte black scroll wheel here surrounding the ball. This one looks more chrome, looks more metallic. I actually don't know what the material is, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was some sort of metal. And this is the only thing that kind of accents. And I kind of like that because it creates like a little bit of a ring, a little bit of a halo over the ball, where this one just kind of like deadens it a little bit. The last major design thing to look at is kind of the angle and the tilt. I'm gonna move it like this, and you can see the actual angle of the face itself is more up on this trackball, where this one's down, and because of that, they actually don't ship this wrist rest. Now, you don't have to use the wrist rest. You can pop it off, but it does come with it by default. I've been somebody who's always used the wrist rest. I feel like I get a little bit better, just ergonomics off of it. So I've always used it. And at first I was like, oh wait, the wrist rest isn't here. Am I going to hate that? But actually, no. I have not had any problems feeling like my wrist is bending too far back. So I think it's a good angle at the normal way that I sit. So that doesn't bug me at all. So either way, I'd say from a design perspective, thumbs up. This thing looks way more up to date compared to the old one. But the next thing is to talk about hardware functionality, because one of the things I have always loved about this is that you can customize it in various ways, but it always felt a little limited. And actually my very first Kensington trackball was a really old one where they actually used to have some extra buttons up here for shortcuts and things like that. So I don't know why they ultimately ended up taking it off and just settling on this, but luckily they have brought them back, and not only that, they have brought back, or they have added extra features that I'm just like totally in love with. So as you can see across the top here, we've brought back some buttons. So by default, these do have some defaults on how you control them, but I'll show you in the software later, you can actually change it up. Not only that, there's this little toggle right here that clicks out and clicks in, and that is to change the scroll wheel from a free flying wheel to one with like actual clicks and a little bit more of teeth to it. It's not a ton of resistance. Like I can just glide right over it, but it does give, you know, at least a little bit of a clickiness. And actually I've been using it in this mode, which is nice. Also at the top here, I'm actually going to turn it on real quick. At the top here we do have little LED indicators for various things. This is not customizable. You cannot, you know, put things on this screen. This is mostly just to kind of give you notifications. Right now this notification is saying that the wireless dongle is not plugged in. And so yeah, to turn it on, all I did was flip a switch over here, nice and easy to get to. It does have a dedicated pairing button, and then you see on this side we have brand new scrolling wheels. It's not just on this side, you also get one on this side, and it feels like the exact same material as what's in the middle here, but it's just, you know, obviously off to the side and more flush with the system. There is also quick toggles for the DPI and the polling rate, measured in hertz here. And along the front, we can see the recessed power plug if you do want to go wired. On the bottom here, it's actually a little interesting. They have these hardware toggles to turn off the scrolling. So say you didn't want to use one of the scroll wheels, you could actually just turn it off so in hardware, at the hardware level, so you're never accidentally going to hit it. I mean, you could do this in software as well, so I'm not quite sure why you would want to do it in hardware instead, but I mean, I guess it's good there's an option. This does have some nice rubber feet, but this feels pretty much standard compared to the other Kensington trackballs. And then in here, we've got a little lip that you open up to get to the wireless dongle. Now this is an interesting decision, that the wireless dongle, they're terminating it with USB-C. I think this is mostly because a lot of laptops are just focusing on USB-C now, so I get it, but I was a little bummed to see this. I would have rather had a Type A, but that's just me. I use it on a desktop. I have a motherboard with more Type A than Type C, so that was a bummer. And this looks like this would be a battery spot, but it is not. This thing actually has a built-in rechargeable battery, which is different than the original one, which just took 2 AA batteries. So, which is, once again, it's got its strengths and weaknesses, you know, but I don't know. I need more time with it to see like how often I need to recharge it. I've only used it for a week, and after plugging it in for the first time and topping it off, obviously I haven't had to recharge it. It's typically my old trackballs have lasted a long time on a single charge, so I'll be bummed if the longevity on this is not good. The last thing I kind of want to point out is more like a quality of life feature, but you can see that I'm tilting this freely right now because it has a little bit of a lip on the ball that you actually have to pull on it to get it out, which is nice because that's a difference from the original trackballs, which literally just sit there in place. There's nothing holding it in place, so anytime I would have to move it around, inevitably I would drop this on my floor with a hard thud, but now they've been able to solve that with a little bit of a lip. It's not going to survive a big shake, but it'll survive, you know, just holding it upside down, which is nice. So the way I typically use a trackball is I have a full 100% keyboard. I need my numpad, and so I usually butt it right up against the keyboard in a very specific position. I want my thumb that rests here for the left click to be able to hit the enter button. So it's kind of a very specific need for me. This is how I like it, and this is how I like to use my trackball. And you can see the slope. This isn't actually my keyboard, but my keyboard has a similar height to it. And you can see the slope matches up really well. This one, when I swap it out, it is a little lower. I am having to lift my thumb up a little bit, even on the keyboard at home, but it hasn't been an issue for me yet. I guess I'll have to track it longer term, but for the most part, it feels natural in my setup. But you're also going to see that in this way, I can't actually use this scroll wheel because it's just literally sitting up against the keyboard. So the only scroll wheel I really have access to on the side is the one on the right. So now let's quickly look at the Kensington Konnect software. Unfortunately, it's Konnect with a K, like Mortal Kombat for some reason, I'm not quite sure, whatever. You can see I have both trackballs plugged in. First, I'm going to select the old trackball, which is this one, and you can kind of get a feel for the settings. Not only can you customize each click, you can actually customize multiple clicks for extra actions if you want. Default pointer speed, acceleration, scrolling, all that kind of stuff, you know, pretty simple. But let's go back over to the new one. And I actually kind of like in this software, you can actually change the look of the trackball. Just not that it matters in the software, but you want it to match what you have, right? So you click on this one. We still have the ability to map actions not only on the main clicks, but also, you know, the multiple clicks if you want. And then you see the top 4 buttons here. By default, the top right 2 are going to be volume up and volume down. On the left, we have forward and play and pause for media playback. But you can go in there and be like, you know what, I actually don't want any of that stuff. There's a ton of stuff you can do, including video conferencing. Like I actually have at home set it up for, what is it? Oh, mute and unmute. Right now it only actually works with Zoom and Teams, but it is kind of a nice feature to be able to hit a button real quick and just mute yourself. I do like that. There's other things that, you know, hey, if you want your Copilot on a button press, there you go for it. You got extra functionality. I mean, everything you could do, like you pretty much have a way to do it, including custom macros and things like that. So like it's pretty extensive, and each button can do the same kind of stuff. So like no matter which button or combination of buttons you want to click, you can make those same changes, which I like a lot. I will note that there is an easy mode, but essentially easy mode is just taking off the multi-clicks, so it's not really changing anything. I think it's just taking those actions away from you. And once we go over to the pointer and the scrolling, it's actually the same kind of options that we have in the other one, except for, of course, you get to customize the side scrolling. So by default, it's zoom in and out on the right and horizontal scroll on the left. I actually like this because then if you default to vertical scroll on the actual ball itself, say you're in a video editor, you can use this to scroll up and down, but then on your timeline, you can use horizontal scroll to go left and right, which I appreciate. It has some good options in here. Some of them I'm just like, I'm never going to need to increase or decrease my brightness, but I mean, you can do custom keyboard shortcuts. I feel like it's pretty well suited for most people's taste, and definitely overkill for anything I need. So I really appreciate that. I do want to point out that right now we're editing this for all applications, but you can actually go in and do application-specific like keyboard commands. If you're like, oh, you know what, I have Photoshop loaded on here and I want a specific layout, then you can do that, and theoretically it should be able to pick that up. To tell you the truth, I don't do any of that sort of stuff, so I can't tell you how well it works, but I mean the option is there, and it looks like you can even map any application that might not auto-populate on the list as well. So once again, another tool. So that's most of the details of this. Other than the price, I will say the original trackball here comes in, the wireless version comes in at $120 US. This does have a $10 price premium at $130, but to tell you the truth, the things they're adding and the fact that they finally updated the design, I'm okay with that price. A $10 increase is not great, but I'm completely fine with that for the added functionality. Other than the hardware changes and the software changes that I've noted that I appreciate, I will say after using this for a while, I do want to point out a couple things that I do appreciate, which once again is the ergonomics. I started off loving trackballs because of my audio editing background. It is really nice to have a large trackball to scrub a playhead and things like that. But as I've done less and less audio and even video editing, I've come to just appreciate the ergonomics of it and the simplicity of a setup. To not have to worry about like a big space for a mouse or anything like that. It's just right here, it never moves, and it's always where I need it. And so for me, when I sit down to work, I'm just able to slide right into work mode, and it's great. Having the ball not fall out is really nice, because I mean, how often am I going to move it? Not a ton, but when I do, it is really nice that it doesn't fall out, because like I said, I am constantly futzing with this, or if I do try to move it to like clean it out, I always forget the ball is just held in there by nothing and it just drops out, so that is a bummer. One of the first things that I really appreciated about it was this like heavier scroll wheel. Like they changed not only the material that it's used, so it has a way more weight to it. It does feel like it's on some sort of ball bearing, so it's just real smooth. And even Will behind the camera is just like, wow, this is a really good smooth action, especially compared to the original, which never bugged me per se, but like you can hear that plasticky grind, and it doesn't really have a ton of weight when you scroll it. It just kind of comes to a plastic on plastic stop, where this one you can scroll it and it just goes for a while. It does slow down, and depending on which mode you're in, the teeth will make it slow down a little bit. It's both a positive and a negative though. As much as I love it and it just feels so good to use, it has such an inertia to it that I've had a problem with accidentally scrolling in places that I didn't want to scroll. So say I'm on a web page and then off to the side I have a window of Slack or something, and I went down a web page, so I started to scroll, and then I moved the cursor over into Slack. Because there was so much momentum, it then started scrolling Slack, and it has happened time and time again where like I guess I just need to relearn to like scroll and then manually stop it or something, but the inertia is definitely something that I really have to adjust to, and right now it is kind of a pain point, but I think ultimately if I maybe adjust how I use things, it won't be that bad. Because ultimately I do think the benefit of having such a nice smooth scrolling mechanism is a positive overall. Now, one of the negatives I do want to point out is that the software, the Kensington Konnect, that you need to use to modify this thing only works in Windows and Mac. And I've actually been doing a lot more work in Linux lately, and unfortunately, while this does do plug-and-play support in Linux, I am able to get it to work. It's only the default configuration. Number one, I can't download the software to customize it and run it on Linux, which is a real bummer. And number two, it does not have any onboard profiles, so I can't sync up, or I can't configure it in Windows and then sync it up to the device and then take it to Linux and have everything already configured, which is a real bummer. Like, I get why they won't make a version of the software that runs on Linux. I get that. But not having the onboard memory support, I think, is a bigger deal, and it's kind of, it's very much a bummer. I wish they would have added that, especially because this does have options to pair to multiple Bluetooth devices. So assuming, that they're assuming that people are going to be able to connect this to different systems, why would you not have the internal memory to be able to transfer those things? So that's honestly probably the biggest downside that I can think of at this point for this trackball. Anyway, to wrap it up, I will continue to be a trackball weirdo. I love my trackballs. It seems like Kensington has finally given me a solid upgrade, and I will continue to use trackballs and not be besmirched by anyone who makes fun of me for trackballs. You can make fun of me all you want, but it's not going to hurt me. I love trackballs. But are you watching this because you are also a trackball person? Well, awesome. I'm glad to meet you. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me which trackball you like, because I've actually been having my eye on one specifically. There's a company called Elecom out there that makes another large trackball variant that I've never used. I've always been a Kensington person, but I'm curious about the Elecom. If you're an Elecom user, if you're a Kensington user, if you're somebody who uses a different kind of trackball, let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe here on PCWorld for more PC hardware and software coverage. We will catch you in the next one. See you later.